Hi guys, I hope you're having a good weekend and sorting your way through the next discussion board post. I apologize for not getting this up sooner. I feel like I'm a little bit behind the power curve this weekend. Um, for some personal reasons, but I did put some feedback up in the discussion board. I took the same approach that I did a couple of weeks ago when I was behind the power curve, and I commented on the hot topic threads where I saw several of you guys posting and kind of having an ongoing dialogue. I joined in with that, and you guys can all check those comments out. You guys did a really great job this week, as usual, but I feel like everyone really had a good grasp on that era of Clinton and Gingrich politics in the 90s, and it really brought me back to that time period reading all of your all's synopses of these things. And it's, again, so interesting to me to think about how those things play into our current politics. And I know it's hard because it is politics and not policy, so I don't want to get us too bogged down in the politics of it, but it's still relevant today, and it's so interesting. I was thinking about that whole era and the impact that Hillary Clinton's husband, Bill Clinton, had on her runs for the presidency in 2008 and 2016, and whether or not that stood in her way with some people, some voters. I was also thinking about the relevance regarding the Lewinsky scandal and our current perceptions of leaders and the standards that we hold them to. It was interesting to think about the 2016 election and the videos that were revealed about Trump, some of the things that he said about women. While we didn't have an admission from him like we eventually did with Bill Clinton, it was interesting to see that play out in the way that it did. And now with Roy Moore and the Alabama Senate race, and some of the allegations coming out against him, granted these are from 30 years ago, nevertheless, they're rather serious, involving him having sexual relations with an under 18-year-old, actually several people that are coming forward who were, I think, 14 and 16 at the time, maybe 18 as well, making these allegations. So Roy Moore is denying them, of course, yet it'll be interesting to see how that plays out and whether or not our ability to accept those indiscretions or that misconduct in our leaders is something we can tolerate or not. I'll be interested in seeing how that plays out, just to kind of compare and contrast that with that 90s era. And it's always interesting to see some of these people are still involved in politics that were in place in the 90s, to kind of see how consistent they are in their values that they were claiming then in the 90s, and whether or not those hold true when it's members of their own party that are being, these accusations are being mounted against. So keep an eye on that. But it was a really interesting discussion. Somebody raised a really interesting point that I appreciated, and I noted in the feedback about whether the book is biased politically or kind of left-leaning is the impression I got, I believe, from the person's post. And I think that's an interesting point, and one that we as educators really grapple with a lot in social work in particular. And I try to be very transparent. If I have something that's my viewpoint, I try to disclose it as such. I don't know if I've been as transparent within this online setting, so I thought I would use it as kind of a forum to talk about that. But I think we all come to these issues with our own biases, including the textbook authors. So it's rather hard because everybody perceives the world through their own lens. It's really hard to write an unbiased book. And if you sense that there is bias in the book, you're probably right. And I think it's really important from a critical thinking standpoint to be aware of that and to recognize that all of these things are not to be taken at face value and just accept it. It's important to research where people are coming from and alternative point of views. I think that you're wise to kind of dig a little bit deeper if you sense that somebody does have a bias. And in my face-to-face policy class, I try to be very cognizant of assigning readings that are coming from different biased viewpoints so that we can kind of work through that and see what those biases mean in terms of the positions people are holding in their writing and their scholarship. This class doesn't seem to be designed in exactly the same way, and that's okay, but I do think it's important for you guys to realize that the people that you're learning from, probably everywhere, not just in social work, but everywhere, have their own personal opinions and biases, and everything that they're telling you is filtered through that. I lean leftward, and I will be very open about that. I hope that I present information that comes from different places and different sides, but if you feel that I'm missing something, I would love for you guys to bring that into the classroom, either through the discussion boards or emailing me something to post to our supplementary readings. I would never grade you guys according to your viewpoints. I hope you realize that. I grade you guys based on how well you express your viewpoints, but I love to hear different viewpoints, and I think it's great for the learning process. Challenging our, deeply held beliefs is what we're here to do, and to kind of think critically about why we feel the way we do and why we act the way we do, and try to bring all of that into alignment with our professional ethics and our code of ethics here in social work. So that's really the aim, and that's what we'll be doing throughout your curriculum here, not just within this class, but I thought it was an important point that somebody made. Nicely done. I had a couple of housekeeping things that I wanted to bring up. So next week, for the week 12, module 12, you do not have to do a discussion post. You're welcome. You guys are doing the policy paper, and I want you guys to focus your attention on that. There is a quiz for the module 12, but the expectation is that you're doing the reading, and the quiz should be, hand in hand with the reading, but no discussion post. So focus your energies after doing the reading and the quiz on completing that policy paper. With respect to the policy paper, I had a question from one of your classmates about whether or not the policy paper should be completed with just a focus on the website that's referenced there in the assignment, and my answer is it can be completed that way. That will be perfectly fine if you complete it by just using the website and you want to focus the paper that way. Yet, if you're going through the website and you're recognizing that it links in conversation to other policy initiatives that are happening that you're aware of and you'd like to research further and bring into that discussion, I think that would be great. It is not required. It's an option if you guys are interested in supplementing your discussion with a broader reach. Granted, you have to keep in mind in terms of balancing the page limits and all of that, I don't want you to extend the paper into something much more than what the assignment is calling for. But if you do identify, for example, one policy that fits in nicely with talking about student loan programs through that website, that would be great. But not a requirement. Again, that's just an option. Okay, and one last thing that I wanted to remind you guys about. Somebody in the class had asked me if we could consider extending my offer to drop one of the lowest quizzes to dropping a discussion board grade as well, either or. And my answer is yes, because they're weighted similarly in the syllabus. They're actually weighted exactly the same. They're both 25% of your grade. So if you want to choose one of your lowest discussion posts to drop, if those are lower than your quizzes, that's fine. If you want to choose one of your lowest quizzes to drop, that's fine as well. So just looking at the quizzes and discussion posts together and seeing where your lowest grade is and letting me know that you want to drop that, or I'll do that automatically if I don't hear anything from you. Okay, so policy paper for next week, no discussion board post, and please let me know if you have any questions between now and next week about the policy paper. I'll try to keep a close eye on my mailbox on Blackboard to make sure I can be responsive to you guys, and you can reach out to me other ways if you need to. All right, have a great week. Bye.